My best friend went missing in the woods. When he returned, his parents refused to let me see what he'd become at night. I've gone back and forth for a while on whether I should post this. I won't share the names of the people involved. I will use aliases to protect their identities, or the town this happened in due to the ongoing investigation. What I will tell you is what I experienced to the best of my ability. I know how this is going to sound, but I promise that every word of what I'm about to tell you is true, especially what happened after sundown. On the edge of a small town, where cicadas droned in the trees and the air carried the sweetness of pine sap, Danny and I grew up together. He was the kind of kid who could make small adventures into epic ones. Scavenger hunts along the reservoir trails, races up the old water tower, and ghost stories by flashlight in a backyard tent were just a few of my favorite memories with him. All of that changed last fall when he and his dad Neil went on a hunting trip a few towns away. He was supposed to be back in time for his 16th birthday. Bad horror movies, video games, and lots of pizza were what we had planned, but that day never came. Only his dad came back home. I distinctly remember hearing his mother's reaction when she realized her son hadn't returned. Her scream tore across the yards between our houses, causing the birds in the nearby trees to scatter. Neil had woken to an empty tent and searched the woods all morning before calling the police. Joined by volunteers from around town, they combed the area for days, but not a single trace of Danny was found. Word spread around town that Danny had vanished overnight. Despite his dad being the last one to see him alive, and how strange it all was, no one questioned it too much. His parents were well liked after all, and Neil also had old hunting buddies in the police department. They took his word at face value, and as a result, no charges were filed. The investigation went cold only after a couple of weeks. Weeks blurred into months, and Danny still never turned up. I barely left the house. The sadness that crept into Danny's home eventually seeped into mine. Their house was nothing more than darkness, breathing through the slats of the blinds day and night. Aside from the groaning porch swing and the clink of beer bottles hitting the ground outside, I respected the silence from next door. Even from my window, I could see the bags underneath his parents' eyes as they sat out back late into the night. Eventually, they stopped going out altogether. I clung to the idea that they were only grieving, that everything was normal. But what happened at school one afternoon convinced me otherwise. I remember my calculus teacher, Mrs. Parker, had left a stack of graded papers out on her desk. When I went to staple my homework, the paper on top caught my eye. Danny's name was scribbled on it in the same messy cursive I'd seen 100 times before. When I asked Mrs. Parker how Danny had turned it in, she simply said, "Oh, his